let's all just for a moment try and realize that the people that pull the strings, or that the people that know the playbook, they have a playbook that allows them to do things, misdirection, allows them to do things in a manner that hopefully minimizes the competition. We start by quietly reclassifying gold tier one. We then proceed to slowly draining the world's exchanges. The rise of the others, as you and I started talking about in 2020, those being the third group of large traders on the Commitment of Traders report that came out of nowhere, thought to be primarily sovereign wealth funds that were standing for delivery all over the place. We see repatriation from the Bank of England and the New York Fed by 40 plus central banks. Bank of India just repatriated almost all of their gold, over 100 plus metric tons since 1991, and they continue to buy more year over year than they did the previous year, taking possession of it all. We see reports all around the place that these central banks are not reporting as much as they are actually taking. Over half of all the gold sales or exports since March are really unaccounted for. No one knows who bought them. There was something similar in 2021 or 22 where Bloomberg came out and said, you know, you got like all 400, 500, 600 metric tons of gold that have been shipped, and we can only account for about 50% of it, and they assumed the rest are going to the BRICS nations. You have things that are happening, like China buying up doré and concentrate from Latin American, South American countries, which disintermediates the marketplace. The how much is being bought, it has far less consequence on the prices. You're seeing huge volume all around the world in all of the other exchanges. How many people know that Dubai, the exchange in Dubai, UAE, just surpassed the LBMA? It's the second most active trading market in the world for gold. And if you take the combined volume of the Shanghai metals and the Shanghai futures, it's right there as well. It is putting the COMEX and the LBMA in serious trouble. We saw this January, we saw massive deliveries in both gold and silver. 50 plus million ounces of silver delivered in January. 15,645 or so contracts in gold in the month of January. 15,000 contracts. That's almost 50 tons of gold coming off. Those are deliveries off of COMEX. And we see states that are doing all of this. And I look at this and it blows my mind that it is so misdirected by the people that tell us what's important. It's unbelievable. Most people don't understand what's really happening, and we try to explain to them that the softness in the physical market, it's ridiculous. It's the most contrarian indicator I've ever seen. And you're right. Where are all the people? Well, they're into a handful of stocks, 7 of them basically. And you saw what happened, how fragile the whole ecosystem is, right? These guys over there, they're playing in terms of years and decades. And us here in the States, as foolish as it is, where instant gratification really isn't fast enough, where a 30% gain in gold is laughable, where Richard Russell said you make 7 a year, 7%, you're a rock star, over quadrupled that, and it's a joke because it didn't go triple digit in a few weeks or months or and this is all happening where everyone's in 7 stocks into Bitcoin and into money markets, 7+ trillion into money markets. You want to talk about a potential rug pull? I mean, you blow up one big bank like Bank of America, where guys like Gregory Mannarino screaming forever that this is a dangerous bank. Ted Butler, while he was still alive, bless his soul, spoke very indignantly about them, though they were the big short in both gold and silver, replacing JP Morgan. 1 billion ounces short in silver, 40 million ounces short in gold. Blow up a bank like that. Let people really understand what bail-in legislation is and watch how fast the whole system, bang, blows up that fast, where people run to yank their money out of the banks. You think you've seen a scary environment? Watch what happens with a real bank run that blows up the entire system, sends interest rates spiking and bringing everything down. And then you talk about Bitcoin and you know, the one thing, I haven't read Catherine's report. I know you sent it to me. I was so busy all day. I want to get to it. But the one thing that I'm concerned about, if it even warrants being concerned, it certainly feels that way to me. I suppose I need to research it more. But with the underpinning of all of the stable coins and treasuries, as the rest of the world has shed treasuries and continues to let them roll off the balance sheet in favor of commodities, real assets, we're all going into Bitcoin. And the central banks aren't just slowing down their acquisition of gold, they're doubling down. The last few months of reported statistics, the end of the year showed a doubling of the 12-month moving average each month. They're not stopping, they are increasing. We see Saudi Arabia, we see China be caught by the import-export numbers. Sorry, we've probably been buying more than we said, or we didn't report that. And if it's bought by the Liberation Army, People's Liberation Army, it's not reported, even though it was purchased by the PBOC. We underreported it. Same thing with what is going to Saudi Arabia. With all of this gold that's unaccounted for, do you really think they're reporting it all? Of course not. They're also the largest producers in the world, the second largest producers of silver in the world. They're doubling down their efforts. We are all misdirected into risk-on assets, and these folks are buying all of the world's commodities. I talked at length. The Chinese bought the London Metals Exchange. They're not just buying precious metals. The London Metals Exchange are all the base metals. Look at all the countries on the Belt Road. Look at Indonesia. Just became a full member of BRICS. What is Indonesia but the largest producer of nickel in the world? Their president, Widodo, said we need to build an OPEC-style cartel for rare earths as well. Everything they are doing is aligning with countries that are either strategically located via sea or land and or have massive supplies of natural resources, many of which are underdeveloped nations and working on these deals. And we're all focused on risk-on assets. And it's kind of like the generation of gamblers we are breeding is really not a good idea. You grew up when we did. You work your ass off to get somewhere. You grind. You let the laws of compounding be your friend. You make a few percent each year. You keep on going. You keep on saving. You keep on grinding. You save, you invest, you reinvest. This is Austrian economics. What we have right now, it's speculation land. And yes, there have been people that have become very wealthy. FOMO is raging. The dopamines that flow from your brain making all this money is raging. And is it right? I don't know. I guess only time will tell, but I'll tell you this, the biggest money in the world, the central banks would say, why aren't they doing that? I mean, they talk about it a little bit, but why aren't they doing it? And why are they hiding what they're doing with metals and with commodities? Why are they not being forthright? Why did the most powerful bank in the world reclassify it to begin with as tier one? Then we get to the states. And you're right. Now, Jason and I talk virtually every day, and we talk about this all the time, this growing chorus of states that realize their constituents have been screwed for a long time. And it's time to let them have sound money. And the Constitution allows them to issue gold and silver coins, or species. In Jason's argument, digital forms of it as well. That's where we're moving. What does that say? And I would also add, just like we saw the others, which were the sovereign wealth funds, who were buying after tier one revision and all the central bank buying and repatriation, their buddies and their wealthy cohorts started buying under the cover of sovereign wealth funds. As this trend continues here in the States, do you not think the people in the know are going to buy every damn thing that is still left unaccounted for And while there's a massive overhang of inventory right now, lowest premiums I may have ever seen in my career, I can't even believe it. I mean, is the euphoria surrounding Trump getting our culture back that deep? I mean, I get it. I spoke to that as much as anyone. The bizarro world, the nauseating stuff that we saw over the last 4 years. God bless him and guys like Kash Patel and all of the people he's bringing in to restore our culture. God bless him for that. And I feel much better as a father, but you're all making a mistake. And I'm not talking to you out there, but people out there, if they believe that the monetary and fiscal irresponsibilities and distortions that were created through all of this over the last several years will not be accounted for. They will. And this is what the rest of the world is doing as we're rushing headlong into the risk trade, maybe at the worst time. So yeah, I mean, you add the states to this mix, I think it could be huge. And maybe that's part of the reason why we saw nearly 16,000 contracts standing for delivery in January for gold. It's an interesting time